What do we know about this process? Did it go through the traditional pardon process with the Department of Justice, or was this something that was done internally among the family? How did this happen?
Well, I think with the president, everything is a family process first and foremost. And I think the timing of this, as Carol indicates, is quite conspicuous, given that I was just with the president in Nantucket, returned with him last night on Air Force One. Hunter was on the plane, was part of the trip. And traditionally, the Thanksgiving holiday for the Biden family has been one in which it's the entire extended family. We know that Beau, his late son's children, it's been a sacred time for them over the years in which they gather the entire Biden clan to mark that holiday. This year, it really did strike me that it was only Hunter Biden, his wife, his little son, who's named Beau, as well as Ashley Biden, the president's daughter, who was part of that family trip. And we did see the president out in public during that time, as well as Hunter Biden was with him at each point. But it was definitely a much more buttoned up and closed, feeling around the family this holiday compared to holidays past. And to underscore Carol's excellent reporting, I mean, this is something that the White House has denied publicly consistently. I spoke to the First Lady just days after Hunter Biden was found guilty on the first charge, the gun-related charge, and said to her, the question I posed to her was, your husband has the power to lift this burden off your son. Given the toll that this has had on the family, isn't that something that you wish he could do? And she said to me directly that we respect the rule of law, and that's not something that they were going to do. And so I think the father and son have had this conversation. The president has been so concerned about his son's well-being throughout this process. Obviously, he's been following this long recovery from addiction, an addiction that really deepened after, just weeks after his brother, Beau, died of brain cancer in 2015. And so the decision that the family has made together here, father and son, is that this is best in the best interest of Hunter long term, and obviously the political consequences are less now that he's just 51 days from leaving office.
So we just have a statement from the Biden's. President Biden says, today I signed a pardon for my son Hunter. From the day I took office, I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department's decision making, and I kept my word, even as I have watched my son being selectively and unfairly prosecuted. It goes on to talk about the singular nature of the case against Hunter Biden, and he notes that Hunter was singled out only because he is my son, and that is wrong. There has been an effort to break Hunter, who has been 5.5 years sober, even in the face of unrelenting attacks and selective prosecution. In trying to break Hunter, they've tried to break me, and there's no reason to believe it will stop here. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. So this is a president who is acting first and foremost like a father, but also wielding enormous executive power. Mike, do you know if it's likely he will wield this power in other cases, other pardons that may be coming down the pike as his administration comes to its conclusion?
Well, traditionally and at times controversially, we have seen presidents preparing to leave office who make a number of pardon decisions. We have already seen a lobbying campaign, a public lobbying campaign, be ramped up in the last several weeks from interest groups, from members of Congress, making the case to the president to pardon, in some cases, specific individuals, in some cases, categories of people, including, for instance, people in prison on drug offenses. There was a press conference on Capitol Hill involving members of the Congressional Black Caucus on that just now. You know, there are other politically connected individuals who have been publicly and also privately reaching out to the White House officials to try to encourage them to have the president consider their cases. And so this is something that on the long list of things that this White House is considering in the closing weeks of their administration is first and foremost. But this obviously is the most significant one. And it's notable that they are doing this as a standalone pardon. I mean, there are a number of ways they could have packaged this. We, in fact, saw just this weekend Abby Lowell, Hunter Biden's lead attorney, making essentially a public case for why the president maybe should consider this pardon. And it talked about the fact that there are other people with similar penalties, similar charges against them who did not face the same kind of jail time that Hunter Biden is considering. And so there are a range of factors clearly that this White House would have been considering, but this ultimately is one that he's announcing just for his son at this point tonight.
That President Biden is expected to pardon his son, Hunter Biden. The president's son was convicted on all 3 felony charges in June related to the purchase of a revolver in 2018 when prosecutors argued Hunter lied on a mandatory gun purchase form by saying he was not illegally using or addicted to drugs. According to NBC News, the president made the decision this weekend. Molly, fast and furious, what do you make of this new news?
I just heard it. I have to process it. I don't have a take. I'm sorry.
Anyone, Michelle, Miriam, presidential power in action on President Biden pardoning his son.
I mean, look, I don't think that Democrats can uphold all of these norms single-handedly. Hunter Biden was prosecuted for a crime that kind of a normal person who had committed the same crime would almost certainly not be prosecuted for. And Joe Biden bent over backwards not to intervene in order to show, sort of how much of a respecter of norms he was, unlike Donald Trump. But, we see kind of what that got him. And I certainly understand why, why he would not want to forfeit the future and life of his son to uphold a set of norms that are about to go up in smoke.
What do you think of this, Mary? The president had said that he would not seek a pardon for his son, and here we are using presidential power. Is this now kind of a blank check to the incoming administration to use whatever power is at its disposal for whatever things it wishes to achieve?
Well, as you know, the pardon power is absolute. It is one of those powers that is exclusively given to the president. And I do think, people will be asking Joe Biden what changed, because he did say pretty clearly he was not planning to pardon his son. I will note we are ending a Thanksgiving Day weekend, and I'm sure the family was all together, and I'm sure that caused him to think long and hard. But I will be interested to hear what he has to say about what changed. Michelle is right that the crimes that Hunter Biden was prosecuted for are things that would not ordinarily result in the types of prosecution we saw. And I don't think that issuing a pardon opens the floodgates to abuses of other types of power, because a pardon is part of that exclusive authority of the president. We know that the incoming president has already talked about various types of pardons. I'm hoping he will not engage in all of those that he has suggested, particularly with respect to the January 6th attackers, those who attacked the U.S. Capitol. But that all, of course, remains to be seen.